Houston, integrity for timeline.
Christina, we're with you.
Hey, Jackie. You guys okay if we start entry checklist 30 minutes early?
Checking. And Integrity Houston for entry checklist. We are ready for you to begin 18.0.1 entry checklist, steps 1 through 6.
Copy. We're go entry checklist 1 through 6. Thanks.
And step 3 for GPS can be skipped. GPS has been powered and it still looks good.
Copy. Step 3 is a skip.
Integrity Houston for entry checklist.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, Reed, a couple of questions for you. We realized we didn't give you an explicit thumbs up to perform step 1.2 for the flight path angle hash mark update, so we wanted to confirm that you did, in fact, perform the set EI FPA limits procedure. And secondly, we want your opinion on the in and out CMIS caution. Is that something that will be distracting such that we should inhibit it?
Okay, we are going to go execute 1.2. We had skipped that, and we would prefer to inhibit the CMIS caution on board.
Okay, we copy, and just to close the loop on that, that will mean on flight.landing you would not have a yellow or down arrow indication if that does stay below the threshold.
And that is totally fine.
Houston, integrity for toilet deactivation.
Integrity, Jackie had to step off for a second. Go ahead for toilet.
Yes, sir. Hey, Stan. Great to hear your voice. We are ready for MCC to deactivate the toilet.
Houston copies. Putting that in work.
Houston, integrity for burn telemetry on CM raise burn. 2 questions.
Go for CM raise questions.
Hey, Jackie, we see a Delta V tote on our display of 9.9, which is fairly close to the 8.5 on the entry pad, but our TIGO on the display is 44 seconds, and the entry pad estimated 19 seconds. Can you all take a look at that for us?
Hey, Reed, good catch. The explanation there is that Delta V is about what we expect update-wise, but the TIGO calculation is not understanding that you will not have the SM when you burn CM raise. So it's doing a different mass calculation there.
I remember that class in November of 2023 in Building 5 on the 3rd floor. Thank you very much.
Integrity, Houston, the toilet is unpowered.
Christina Rogers, thank you.
Integrity Houston for a post-RTC3 tracking update.
Go ahead, Houston.
Hey, the post-RTC3 tracking looks great. So good, in fact, that if we got to CM rays and did not yet have GPS acquisition, we would still be go for CM rays from that perspective. And so overall, I can confirm the post-RTC3 trajectory is within EI limits.
All right, Jackie, we love that. That says a lot about our FIDO folks in this vehicle.
Houston integrity com check from seat 1.
Seat 1, have you loud and clear coming down on both OE 1 and 2? How me on 1?
Got you loud and clear on 1, Jackie. We're going to stay in this config on both 1 and 2, and Reed and Victor are in our seats, slowly proceeding along.
Okay, we copy, and just to confirm, that means that you've got the bulk of your suits donned. Is that correct?
Just for Reed and Victor, A-firm. We're not gloved, not helmeted yet.
Copy all. Thanks. Integrity BFS is configured for entry with outputs inhibited. And a reminder, when you get to step 9.3, use your separate instance of 18.3.101 to save off the time.
100%. Thanks.
Houston integrity com check from C2.
Victor, have you loud and clear? I'm coming up on 1. How me?
Jackie, I have you loud and clear on 1.
You are loud and clear on 2, Jackie.
Steps 12, 13, 14, and 15 are complete.
Jeremy Houston copies. Thank you.
Houston Integrity, seat 1 and 2, leak check complete. Also, we powered up the AGA, and it's giving us a CO2 alarm at 4.4.
We copy leak check. We saw it as well. And copy CO2 at 4.4. We are discussing.
We also on the AGA have a bit A of 16. We've seen that in the past. Should go away.
And Reed, is the AGA been powered for 5 minutes yet, or are we still in that wait period?
We are in the wait period. We expect that bit will go away.
We copy, and that bit can also indicate that we cannot trust the other values, so we'll check back with you after the 5 minutes on the CO2 levels.
A firm.
Houston Integrity, we are complete through steps 18. Seats 3 and 4 are yet to suit, obviously.
Jeremy, we copy. You completed 16 through 18, and confirm for us whether you needed any adjustments of CIAS in step 17.
Negative. All the settings were still in their launch config.
Houston copies. Integrity, Houston, we are ready for another CO2 reading on the AGA.
It is 5.1.
Houston copies. And Reed, earlier I did misspeak. The CO2 reading specifically would not have been affected by that particular bit.
Okay, sounds good. We just know we're in an ARS suit, and that's very likely contributing to that.
We concur. Integrity, Houston, for CO2.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, Reed, what we'd like to do is open the ARS ISO valve to mix the cabin and suit loop air for the time being, and we would just need a call from you all when Christina and Jeremy are getting in their seats and are a few minutes out from leak checks, and we'll get that back into a good config for you to start the next leak check.
Hey, Jackie, that's a reasonably good idea. Can we just hang on that for a little bit and see how we're doing?
Yep, up to you. We will wait. Let us know if you'd like that cabin air mixing.
Is there a CO2 number where you guys would advise on that?
Reed, we would not want to go above 7.
Yeah, that's perfect. Let us monitor it for just a couple minutes here. Houston, cabin entry config is complete, and Christina and Jeremy are about to start suit on.
Excellent on cabin config and copy suit down. Integrity, Houston, for enter checklist. Your CMSM SEP ATP is set to go.
We see that on the PFD, Jackie. Houston, Christina's got an amazing view of home planet out the side hatch window, and it's lighting up the cabin, and it's just a great blue hue to it. It's beautiful.
That is amazing. When you kicked us out of the cabin, we turned on one of the SAW cameras and also had the Earth's reflection on one of the arrays. It was very cool.
Oh, man, that is amazing. Jackie, the cabin audio cable and boom mic are in F3 large, stowed.
We copy. Integrity, Houston. Cabin temp cold soaking is initiated.
Copy that, Jackie. CO2 is 5.5, and we are still doing good on board. Christina and Jeremy are beginning soup down.
Houston copies all. Integrity Houston for entry checklist.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Reed, with this time to EI, we expect you're about to be stepping into steps 9 and 10 in the entry checklist. In step 10 for the SIP switch config, there are no deltas.
No deltas to step 10. Copy all.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Once again, a great view of the planet Earth from Integrity from one of the solar array wing cameras. Now just 14,000 nautical miles from splashdown. Splashdown schedule for 7:07 and 8 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 8 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. At a point to the southwest of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean, where the USS John Murtha is on station and where recovery team assets are being deployed to the predicted splashdown site to complete the mission of Integrity's astronauts and their lunar flyby. With the Earth growing larger in the field of view, the next major milestone, just 1 hour and 13 minutes from now, will be the separation of the crew module from the European service module.
Houston copies.
The separation of the crew module will set the stage just 3.5 minutes later.
One question.
Go ahead.
When I was looking at the BFS-SM SEP, it was the exact same time as our predicted SM SEP. Can you just confirm we don't need that to be a touch later?
And Reed, matching is expected. That's when the sequence will begin for that whole SEP config.
Outstanding. Thank you for the verification.
Here in Mission Control in the Artemis Flight Control Room, Capcom Jackie Mahaffey confirming some of the timeline activities with Commander Reed Wiseman aboard the vehicle. The crew has suited up in its launch and entry suits, ready to begin the critical phase of this mission. Their homecoming to a high-speed entry and a parachute-assisted splashdown in the Pacific. Once again, the next major milestone, 1 hour, 11 minutes from now, the separation of the crew module from the European service module as Artemis's astronauts head home to complete this historic flight.
Houston, we are ready for entry pad deltas if you got them.
Reed, we are taking a quick scan of those deltas, and we'll have them up to you in just a minute.
Copy that.
Integrity Houston with entry pad deltas.
Reed and Ike are ready. Go ahead.
All right, these are deltas compared to the version you copied onto your knee boards on flight day 8. For burn guidance, Delta V tote will be 9.1. TIGO, 20 seconds. Body Delta V in the Z direction, 9.1. How copy?
Copy all.
In the entry section, total duration, 13:38. That's 1338. And splashdown time, 9 days, 013157. For descent and landing section, your backup heading direction will be 095. And for the landing site, a couple of changes to weather. First of all, in pressure, inches mercury, 29.95. That's 14.71 psi. Sky conditions, clouds, few to scattered, 010. Surface winds, 275 at 6 knots. How copy?
Jackie, we don't remember if the number is 06 or 08 for you, but we copy all on the entry pad.
I copy all. And with that, it's a good entry pad, and we can continue in the procedure.
Integrity.
.35 a.m. Central Time. They completed the final major maneuver of the flight, that being the return trajectory correction 3 burn. It was an 8-second burn that fine-tuned its trajectory to enter a corridor over the Pacific Ocean a short time from now. That will be the point of entry interface where the crew will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. The crew moved into its entry checklist just after 4 p.m. Central Time, suited up in those launch and entry suits, conducted leak checks, and now are in the final stages of their entry checklist.
Instruction 115 of entry checklist. SM separation ATP is go.
Houston copies.
The next major milestone on the route home.
Fully zipped, and they're working on EBS and then seating up.
We copy. Thanks for the status.
Jackie Mahaffey talking to Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity. The spacecraft now about 12,000 nautical miles from the Earth's surface. The next major milestone on tap for the crew will be the handover of communications from the Deep Space Network to the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System. The Deep Space Network came into play after the translunar injection burn back on April 2nd that propelled Integrity toward its lunar flyby. We'll be back on the TDRS network here in about 41 minutes. Following that, the next activity will be the pyrotechnic separation of the crew module from the European service module. That is scheduled at 6:33 p.m. Central Time, followed 4 minutes later by one final critical maneuver. That will be a 19-second burn of Integrity's thrusters in what is called the crew module raise burn. Now, what that does is it basically acts. If you were sitting in a reclining chair, you'd basically tilt yourself back. It raises the aft end of Integrity ever so slightly, and that is the final opportunity for us to fine-tune the angle of attack of Integrity through the area of peak heating at entry interface. That will come a bit later on, about an hour and 18 minutes from now. So after the raise burn, we will be in the final orientation that will minimize any peak heating on the heat shield of Integrity, and prior to the time the crew enters the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. Entry interface. This is the critical time where the crew will reach the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling 34,882 feet per second. Just 24 seconds after entering the Earth's atmosphere, we will experience a communications blackout expected to last 6 minutes in duration. This is planned, and it is caused by the interaction of the velocity of Integrity with the friction of Earth's atmosphere. There will be a buildup of plasma around the vehicle, and that ionization will prevent any communications with the crew and any receipt of data by flight controllers here in Mission Control. That blackout is scheduled to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. Again, a 6-minute blackout that will end, if all goes as planned, at 6:59 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time. At that point, we expect to regain communications with the crew and a reacquisition of data through the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System. We will have a series of roll maneuvers. These are computer commanded. That will roll the vehicle slightly to the left, then back to the right. That will bleed off excess energy as we begin our peak period of velocity. We expect to reach a maximum velocity of 24,661.21 miles per hour, equivalent to about Mach 33 times the speed of sound, shortly after we enter that blackout period. Once we exit the blackout period, of course, we're in the denser regions of the Earth's atmosphere, and then we get set up for the parachute deployment sequence. First, the deployment of 3 forward bay cover chutes that will pull essentially the top forward bay cover off the very top of the Integrity vehicle. That will be followed by the deployment of drogue chutes, and then the final deployment of a series of 3 main parachutes at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time. From that point on, it is about 3 minutes or so until splashdown. Splashdown scheduled at 7:07 and 8 seconds p.m. Central Time at a gentle speed of 19 miles an hour. So just to give you some perspective, at the time that we enter the Earth's atmosphere, we're traveling somewhere around Mach 32. We will splash down at a speed of about 19 miles an hour. The G-forces that will build on the crew members inside Integrity will build to about 3.9 Gs. That is what is expected and what they have trained for and what the spacecraft is designed to support. The latest weather forecast out in the recovery zone off the coast of San Diego is a go forecast from our meteorologists here at the Spaceflight Meteorology Group at the Johnson Space Center. And standing by on the deck of the USS John Murtha is my colleague from the Kennedy Space Center, Megan Cruz. Megan?
Hey there, Rob. Yeah, welcome to the bow of the USS John Murtha. This is where we will report out live updates from the ship as NASA and the U.S. military work to recover our Artemis II astronauts in just about an hour and a half. How exciting. Now, right now, as you can see, we are out in the Pacific Ocean. We are just west of San Diego. We're actually staged about 6.5 miles away from where we expect Orion to splash down. And then we will incrementally move closer. So at the time of splashdown, we'll be about 5 miles away, and then we will move to 3.2 miles away. At that point, we'll pause, make sure that all the debris that might be coming down with Orion, because basically some parts of like the parachute system, they're jettisoned off Orion during descent. So we'll just want to make sure that those all land in the water and that we are safe to move even closer. So we will make sure that we can move a little closer, and at that point we will move to a mile away from Orion. And at that point the ship will circle the capsule while NASA and Navy recovery forces work to get our astronauts out, and we should have great views of the bow from here. But also we have a ton of cameras all around the ship. For example, we actually have some cameras right to the left of me here on the bow. These are very strong, stabilized cameras. We can really get up close to make sure that we are sharing all the images we have available to you. We also will have some views from above. We actually have 5 planes providing live views of splashdown today. In fact, some of those aerial assets just took off from San Diego minutes ago. And then actually here on the flight deck, you see 4 helicopters, the 2 in the back. Those will take off in about 30 minutes from now, also with live cameras. So again, lots and lots of imagery that we hope to share with you today. And then those 2 helos in the front, those 2 will pluck the crew out of the water and fly them back to our ship. Now, the combined team here on the ship, more than 550 people, left San Diego 4 days ago, and since then I've watched different teams train every day, rehearse, final preps to make sure that they're ready for today. So to give us more of an update about how recovery is going on right now, why don't we turn over to Paul here, Paul Sierpinski. He is the Assistant Artemis Recovery Director. Great to have you here, Paul.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely. So you just left the landing forces operations center here on the ship. How are we looking for recovery?
Right now, it's looking great. When I left, they were just about to get into weather briefing with Mission Control Center in Houston. But listening to the loops this morning and everything that's been going on, the reentry trajectory correction burn, the return trajectory correction burn went great. They were right down the money, right on the money, right down the middle where they should be coming back. Our forces here are teams out in the water. All our boats are launched or will be imminently. So yeah, it's just coming along great.
Yeah. It's really nice to see. We did see some of those boats float behind us. We were hoping to give you a live view, but of course they floated right out of the camera shot as you came to us. But so basically the team right now here on the ship, basically like monitoring mode, but really things will pick up about 15 minutes after splashdown.
Yeah, so a couple minutes before splashdown, things start happening really, really fast. Mm-hmm. Some events during the reentry, they're maybe a second or 2 apart, and so it just takes a whole lot of effort and a lot of updates back and forth between us and Houston to try to keep track of everything that's happening, all in real time. And then after splashdown, that's when the recovery team really kicks into high gear. We have our boat teams, our boat crews going out, our divers doing hazardous assessments as they get progressively closer to the capsule, making sure, it's safe for all of our people to go in, and it's also safe for the astronauts to come out, because really at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is we're to make sure that the astronauts get home safe after their tremendous journey to the moon and back. But then also we have, like you mentioned on a minute ago, all of our imagery helicopters are taking imagery, camera shots of it as it's coming in all the way through splashdown. I mean, they'll see it as soon as it crosses the horizon, all the way to the ocean here.
And then afterwards, we have to recover actually Orion to bring it into the well deck of the ship.
Absolutely, yeah. And so once the astronauts are safe on board, then those same dive teams are going to transition into securing the capsule. They'll position some equipment around it to kind of facilitate that. The ship will move into position. We'll attach a really big winch line to it and then a bunch of tending lines. We'll pull the capsule around behind the ship and then start to slowly bring it in. And then, yeah. Orion comes in, goes hard down, and everyone cheers.
Yeah,
great day.
Great day, exactly. Lots to coordinate, a lot to manage. Basically, planning for this recovery, Artemis II recovery, started a month after Artemis I launched. That was the uncrewed test flight of the Space Launch System rocket, as well as the Orion spacecraft. That was November 2022, a month later, all the planning for this. How does it feel to be so close to welcoming our friends, our astronauts, home?
I mean, for the whole team, I walked around the ship this morning, just kind of visiting with a lot of people, a lot of groups, and just kind of get the feel of them. And everyone has that same kind of mentality. Everyone's excited. Everyone's thrilled to see all that work that we've been doing, like you said, for the last 3 years, since right after the last one came back till now. And some people even further back. Some of them go back a decade or more. So everyone is just excited, and they're ready. They're really ready for this, and just to be able to see our crew come back, that's going to be a thrill for everyone.
How are you feeling? Are you ready? Is this something you ever thought you'd be doing?
I'm ready. I'm excited. This has been the pinnacle of my career so far. It really has. I've seen a lot of firsts, a lot of lasts, but I can't think of ever topping seeing the first crew to go to the moon and back in 50 years, and to be here and be a part of that. And it's just a tremendous privilege. And on behalf of the whole team, I'm thrilled, and so are all of us. We're ready.
Yeah, I definitely think that those words really embody how everybody on the ship is feeling. So thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate you being here. And so, Rob, we'll toss it back to you again. We will continue to join you with live updates from the ship as much as possible.
Thank you, Megan. Back here at the Johnson Space Center, the entry team of flight controllers looking over the shoulders of Reed Wiseman and Victor Glover there on the flight deck of Integrity, and again just below their feet in the mid-deck area, if you will, Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency. They're in the final review of their entry procedures and all of the activities that will follow here very shortly in trip hammer fashion. We should note that after splashdown occurs, the flight control team here in Houston will be monitoring the orientation of the Integrity spacecraft. We are expecting it to splash down upright in what is called the Stable 1 configuration, with the top of the spacecraft pointed upward. Stable 2 would indicate that it is upside down in the water. Regardless of the orientation, there will be 5 inflatable airbags called the CMOOS system. That's the acronym for Crew Module Uprighting System.
We are suit on complete.
Houston copies.
Reed Wiseman acknowledging that the final steps in suit donning are now complete for the crew. Leak checks have been completed earlier. The CMOOS system, those 5 inflatable airbags, will be inflated with helium. Those airbags will ensure that the vehicle remains upright. While that activity is going on, the flight control team here will be checking the systems on Integrity, also making sure that there's no leakage of toxic gas from the spacecraft. It should take about 15 minutes from splashdown to the power down of all of the systems on Integrity. And at that point, assuming everything is in a nominal fashion, then the green light will be given for the Navy recovery teams to begin to make their way closer to Integrity to begin the erection of a large inflatable life raft called a front porch that will be buttressed up alongside the hatchway to the spacecraft. That life raft will be used to bring the crew members out of this vehicle once the hatch is open, one by one. They'll get their land legs back after 9 days of weightlessness before they're put in harnesses to be hoisted one by one in sequential fashion in an alternating fashion to the two hovering Navy helicopters overhead.
Houston integrity for a status.
Go ahead.
Seats 3 and 4 are connecting umbilicals. We're going to be stepping into leak check soon. 1 and 2 will be seated. 3 and 4 will be free float, and we'll configure EPROC accordingly.
Houston, copies all.
Reed Wiseman talking about the current procedures with the suiting of the crew members and subsequent leak checks, a final leak check for all 4 crew members. Everything is actually running a few minutes ahead of schedule. So once the life raft is inflated next to the Integrity spacecraft and the recovery teams have arrived alongside of the vehicle, the hatch will be open and the crew members will be brought outside into that front porch, as it is called, one by one. They then will be hoisted into the hovering helos overhead, and those helos then will turn around once the 4 crew members are on board, 2 for each helicopter, and will head back to the ship. That should be about a 10 to 15 minute transit. Once the helicopters land on the deck of the USS John Murtha, the crew members will be exiting those helicopters and brought into medical bay on the deck on the ship itself for comprehensive medical exams. They will spend a period of time yet to be determined on board the USS John Murtha before they are flown by helicopter to the shore in San Diego, to the San Diego Naval Air Station, and ultimately will board a NASA jet for the flight back to the Johnson Space Center here in Houston. Just to recap some of the key times that are coming up, we are expecting the separation of the crew module from the service module just 43 minutes from now. That is expected to occur at 6:33 p.m. Central Time, 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be followed just 4 minutes later by the crew module raise burn, the use of Integrity's thrusters one final time in a 19-second burn to slightly tilt the vehicle up into the correct orientation or angle of attack to ensure that it enters the Earth's atmosphere at the right angle, if you will. That will help deflect the buildup of heat against Integrity's heat shield. This was a deliberate move, a change in the procedures from the Artemis I mission that resulted in unexpected char loss on the Avcoat heat shield that had not been intended based on the entry trajectory for the Artemis I mission. What we're doing is we deliberately changed the trajectory of the entry from a skip entry that was about a 3,000-mile transit across the Pacific Ocean. We are expecting now from entry interface to the point of splashdown to have a range of just 1,701 nautical miles, and that in of itself will reduce the exposure time of heating on the heat shield of the spacecraft. Once the raise burn is complete, then the stage is set for entry interface at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time. That means that Integrity will be entering the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling at about 34,882 feet per second, heading for its splashdown site off the coast of San Diego, as you just heard from Megan Cruz on the deck of the USS John Murtha. Splashdown once again under those 3 main parachutes is expected at 7:07 and 8 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time, 2.5 hours before sunset. The actual total distance traveled for Integrity from launch to splashdown is estimated at 694,481 statute miles. Now that includes the first high elliptical Earth orbit following launch that enabled Integrity to move to 43,000 miles above the Earth at its apogee, and enabling a 24-hour period of systems checkouts before the flight control team here and the mission management team gave approval for Integrity to conduct its translunar injection that propelled it on its way to the moon and its historic lunar flyby. So the total distance we expect this vehicle to have traveled at splashdown, 694,481 statute miles. With everything proceeding on track and on time aboard Integrity, the vehicle system's in excellent shape as the Earth grows larger in the field of view. Let's go back to the USS John Murtha and Megan Cruz, who is standing by.
Hey, yeah, Rob, welcome back. Again, we are out in the Pacific Ocean, staged just about 6.5 miles from where we expect Orion to splash down now in just over an hour. How exciting, and the weather, awesome conditions here. I know you see some wind blowing around my hair, but really nothing to speak of when it comes to having to recover our astronauts, as well as no waves here, really. So yeah, we're expecting a really great day. Also, hopefully, some really great views. You can see behind me that some of the clouds are starting to break up, so that's really exciting. And now, of course, this ship has a lot of people ready and excited to welcome our crew back home, including Dr. Rick Schuring here. He is a NASA flight surgeon. Great to have you here, Rick.
You too, Megan. It is a blessing to be out here this day with our teams. We've trained 3 years for this, nonstop with the U.S. Navy, and along with EGS, and we've so looked forward to this day. And you know, just by God's grace, everything's parting, the skies and everything. The crew's doing great. Looking forward to come back, and our teams are ready. So this is one of those days you've dreamt about, and now it's finally here, and we're ready, and just thankful to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you play a really integral role. When was the last time you spoke to the crew, and how are they feeling in this last hour before splashdown?
Sure. Yeah, so the crew woke up. When they splashed down, they will have woken up about 8.5 hours ago. Me and my fellow crew surgeons, Doctors Chris Haas and Rafi Kumjian from this Canadian Space Agency, spoke with them about 6.5 hours ago, just to double check on how they were doing, if there's any medical issues, you know, how they slept, and then kind of go over their landing day protocol for their medications, for what we call a fluid load, to try to replace some of the fluid and electrolytes that they've lost with just a normal space adaptation. Once they got to space, they kind of have to replace some of that fluid to help them with the whole landing kind of readaptation to 1G, which they haven't done for the last 10 days. And then just kind of let them know how things are going to play out, you know, out with the open water teams all the way until we finally get to the med deck. So they were very pumped up, very hurried though. They had a lot of cabin configuration, a lot of things to get ready. So they're excited, but also very focused on the job that they had to do. So we've trained a long time for this, and we're ready. And
you said some medications. I mean, those are kind of just to mitigate the effects of, obviously, their more than 695,000-mile journey back to Earth. It's just like anti-nausea medication, right? Yeah, exactly, Megan. The astronauts are very healthy, fortunately, and even when they come back in reentry, you know, the human system is very kind of dynamic. It has to readapt very quickly, and one of the most common responses they get is just some stomach awareness, to some nausea, even to some vomiting. And you know, with our crews that land out in Karagana, the Soyuz crews or our SpaceX crews, you know, they all kind of experience the same thing. This will be the first time we're landing in water since December 1972, and I worked with all the Apollo astronauts years ago, and they all told me that, you know, landing in the water, especially in the Pacific, can be very provocative. So we take steps to give them medicines to really mitigate some of that nausea, vomiting, help them feel a little bit better, and also sometimes just use a little anti-inflammatory medicine just to help with coming back to 1 Earth, or 1G. The effects of microgravity, especially as you age and you have a little arthritis, you feel great in microgravity, and everyone kind of curses coming back to the ground, like, oh, dang, 1G, but so that helps a little bit. But for the most part, the main thing is just replacing that fluid and then trying to help them with that transition back to 1G, and then we're ready to go. Yeah, and their health is assessed almost immediately after they splash down. Yeah, so we have Dr. Jesse Wang, and we have our independent duty corpsmen, who are the Navy version of paramedics, extremely highly trained, highly experienced Navy medics and divers, who will go out there, open the capsule about 28 minutes after splashdown, and do the first initial assessment. So Jesse and his team will go out there and look at each crew, kind of do their assessments, get vital signs, report back to Drs. Haas and Kumji and I back in the med bay, let them know how they're doing, and then you know, if they've got the normal kind of space adaptation kind of things, we expect that
they're good to go on that. If anything, didn't go the way we want, they're all prepared for that as well. And Jesse and his team, I mean, this is their full-time job, taking care of, sailors and folks who might be injured. We don't expect any injuries, but coming back, going 25,000 miles an hour down to, 20, miles an hour is still a dynamic process. I've heard it described as, kind of like a car crash. And then the crew will be ready to go, and Jesse and his team will make that transition to get them out to the front porch, do assessments on them again, call it to our med bay, and then once we have that and they're all good to go and the crew's feeling okay, we'll hoist them up in the helos. It's about a 3-minute flight back to the flight deck, and that's where me and the astronaut chief Scott Tingle will actually meet them. I'll get eyes on them, make sure they're all good, just take very slow transitions, and then one by one we'll either get them out with the SMTs, the SAR med techs under each arm, just kind of just walk them very slowly to med bay, which actually helps them acclimate back to 1G. Or if they really don't have their sea legs back yet, then we might put them in what we call a stair chair, which will be right behind them, and then just very slowly kind of get them back into med bay to start our full assessments with the team.
Yeah, so a really great team here to support them as soon as they get back, and also all throughout the mission, of course. You talked a little bit about this, but obviously, we have seen astronauts return from the International Space Station for over 25 years, so we kind of know that that journey, how it affects the body. But yes, we're talking about humans returning from the moon for the first time since 1972. How is this different from your perspective?
So it's different in one very significant respect. On Apollo, for exercise, they had something called the Apollo Exergenia, which was basically just a little canister with some ropes, and they would have some resistance and kind of do that. And the Apollo astronauts really liked that. They liked the ability to exercise, because you decondition from a musculoskeletal standpoint, you lose your strength and your stamina very quickly. We had something called the Orion flywheel, which was able to impart much greater loads in terms of resistance, so they're able to do squats, deadlifts, different things, not dissimilar to what the ISS astronauts do, but with a lot less room to do it. And they also did rowing activities for cardiovascular health, and the crews loved it. But for the lunar crews, the future lunar crews, maintaining that physical conditioning, which our astronaut strength conditioning rehabilitation specialists, affectionately known as the ACERs, back in Houston, really work hard to get them in the best shape they're going to have to be in to get to the moon. That device hopefully will maintain that. And Apollo only had about a 4.3-day journey to the moon. Our astronauts are going to have about a 10 to 14-day journey. Right. So maintaining that physical fitness, that strength and stamina is going to be crucial for the success of being able to do those very physically demanding lunar EVAs. Right. So we're very excited about what the astronauts have said about the device and what they have to say about the role exercise plays, going to the moon. And also the mental benefit.
Sure.
They just really like sweating, breaking the sweat, and actually just feeling like they're just getting a workout.
Right.
So
thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate it. I know they're going to be in good hands, so we'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much.
Megan, thanks for the time.
Back to you, Rob.
Okay, Megan, back here in Mission Control in Houston, everything is moving along in order. This view of Reed Wiseman on the left, Victor Glover on the right. We have good suit leak checks. Everything aboard integrity is in excellent shape. The vehicle, with the Earth growing larger and larger in the field of view, we're now just about 8,200 nautical miles away from Earth and closing in for a splashdown just 1 hour and 5 minutes from now.
Integrity, just under a minute till your GPS maneuver initiates, and both GPS units look eager to acquire.
Outstanding. Seats 3 and 4 are working on seat strap in now.
Houston copies.
Once again, as we start to close in on some of the major milestones, the first one coming up in just 31 minutes.
And Integrity, just confirming the LCG gas trap was able to be closed out.
Affirmative.
Copy.
Crew module, service module separation scheduled just 31 minutes from now. The key point of interest, of course, will be the performance of Integrity's heat shield during its high-speed entry back into Earth and the peak heating that is expected around the spacecraft of some 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. On Artemis I, as I think most folks know by now, we flew a trajectory known as a skip entry in which we performed an initial dip into the atmosphere to bleed off some energy. Then we skipped out of the atmosphere and dipped back into the atmosphere before splashing down in the Pacific. But after the mission was over with, we noticed unexpected liberation of some of the charring effects on the heat shield known as AVCOAT. Before the flight, we had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling to get a perspective on what this all means and how the mission was redesigned to try to protect Integrity's heat shield to a higher extent. Let's take a look at that interview.
Returning from the moon is a lot different than deorbiting from low Earth orbit. When we return from the moon, we expect to achieve velocities upwards of 36,000 feet per second. And in order to slow down to a nice, graceful splashdown in the Pacific Ocean, the flight crew is going to experience between 3 and 4 times the force of Earth's gravity. On Artemis I, pressure buildup inside the char layer of the heat shield resulted in the char losses we saw. NASA established a Tiger team whose job was to investigate the cause of the problem and then make recommendations on how to fly the Artemis II mission safely and successfully. And so for Artemis II, we are going to fly a profile that ensures the spacecraft will not see that same type of pressure profile. And so the char losses seen on Artemis II will not be like the ones that we saw on Artemis I.
Rick Henfling indicated that the orientation of the spacecraft and the shortening of the distance of transit to the splashdown zone from the point of entry interface when we reach the top of the Earth's atmosphere, which will be coming up at 6:53 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, should do the trick in minimizing the deleterious forces against that heat shield that were noticed on the Artemis I mission.
And we think we see a beautiful sunrise over the west coast of Australia.
We copy.
Commander Reed Wiseman reveling in his final hour in space on this mission as Integrity is passing over the southwest coast of Australia now at an altitude of some 7,600 nautical miles. That will begin the southwest and northeasterly transit across the Pacific Ocean. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the highlights and some of the numbers associated with the points of interest here. We are 27 and a half minutes away from crew module, service module separation. That will be followed about 3.5 minutes later by the raise burn that we've discussed, a 19-second burn of Integrity's thrusters to fine-tune its angle of attack as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. Entry interface is scheduled 47.5 minutes from now. That's the point at which we will reach the top of the Earth's atmosphere, traveling about 34,882 feet per second at an altitude of 400,000 feet. Just 24 seconds after entry interface, we will begin a blackout period of 6 minutes in duration at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time. Now, right about 10 seconds after the blackout period begins, we are expected to reach peak speed, which would be 24,661 miles an hour. That'll be about 103 miles an hour short of the velocity record set by the Apollo 10 astronauts, Tom Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young, when they returned from the moon on the Apollo 10 mission in 1969. That blackout period is expected to last 6 minutes in duration. At 6:54 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, we'll reach our peak heating period of about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees while we're in a communications blackout from Integrity and its astronauts. That blackout should end at 6:59 and 55 seconds p.m. Central Time, at which point we expect to regain communications with the crew. Capcom Jackie Mahaffey here in the flight control room will be talking to the crew, calling them, and we'll await a response from the crew as they come out of that blackout period. And at that point, their altitude will be just 157,000 feet above the Earth, traveling at 13,000 feet per second with a range to splashdown of just 147 nautical miles. From that point on, the next key series of events will be the deployment of a series of parachutes that we discussed before. First, the forward bay cover chute deploy that will pull the forward bay cover away from the top of Integrity, followed by drogue chute deploy and then the main chute deploy that's expected at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time. That will begin the gentle descent of Integrity towards its splashdown at just a velocity of just 19 miles an hour. And that will begin the recovery operations that you just heard Megan Cruz discuss with her folks on the USS John Murtha. All of Integrity's systems in great shape. The crew is suited up. Leak checks complete as we stand by for the next major milestone, which will be the crew module service module separation just 24.5 minutes from now. All of the activities from the start of entry interface to the point of splashdown will be quite rapid fire, just 13.5 minutes from the point at which we begin descent into the Earth's atmosphere till splashdown. And just to show you, as Rick Shearing, the flight surgeon, alluded to in his interview with Megan Cruz, all of this happens to decelerate the vehicle from traveling around Mach 33 to just 19 miles an hour at splashdown. All of that happening in just 13.5 minutes. But the vehicle and the parachutes are all designed to support all of that, so we'll be standing by to report all that to you in sequential fashion as these milestones are ticked off and as we hear from the crew during its entry back into the Earth's atmosphere and ultimately when they emerge from the blackout period, and at that point we'll be just minutes away from splashdown. So with all of those preparations ongoing, we can return here briefly for another report from the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan? And we'll regain that communication with the USS John P. Murtha just momentarily. In the meantime, everything is on track aboard Integrity. The flight control team here in Houston, led by Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling. The voice you will hear talking to the crew is that of Jackie Mahaffey. She will be reporting everything to the crew and receiving their reports as they enter the Earth's atmosphere for their 13.5-minute plunge back into the atmosphere for splashdown off the coast of San Diego. Now we have the ship back with us and Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha. Megan?
11 balloon, right? Hey, Rob, yeah, the excitement is really building here on the ship. I'm watching right now one of the weather balloons being lofted up from the ship. Again, weather balloons, very important for us to make sure that we are tracking the right kind of weather and also the data that's needed for what's called our Sasquatch team. Again, it's a team out of NASA that basically makes sure that the debris that comes off of Orion, again, some of those pieces of the parachute system, make sure that they don't fall on us here in the sea, and also our aerial assets, our folks in helicopters. So watching that float away right now. But with me right now is Captain Eric Kenny. He's the commanding officer of the John P. Murtha naval ship. Thank you so much for being here. There are so many moving parts that you have to keep an eye on.
That's absolutely right, yeah. But first of all, on behalf of the crew of USS John P. Murtha, Megan, thanks for having me on today. Happy to tell you what we're doing and excited to get the interview started.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we actually take a look at the flight deck here? We'll start start there. Basically, we also, while watching this weather balloon float away, we noticed all 4 helicopters leave the flight deck. We now have an empty flight deck. We had 2 imagery helos as well as the 2 crew helicopters that will go recover the crew. This is just one of the many things that, again, our ship of 550 people, it's something that you oversee as commanding officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Every commanding officer, I would say really every naval service member, our priority is always safety. And as the commanding officer, I take that as one of my primary roles here on board. Mission accomplishment is important, safety always. So my day really has, I would say my message to the crew has sort of changed over the past 24 hours. As we're leading up to today, we've been building up the excitement and motivating the team for the training that we've executed. But really over the past 24 hours, now I'm trying to get us to slow down a little bit. Trust our training, right? Don't believe all the hype. Don't believe everything that's going on. Just let's trust what we've done to get to this point, and if we do that, we'll be successful today.
Mm-hmm. And also part of the big success is obviously the coordination between NASA and the U.S. military. How does it feel being able to support the human space program we have?
Yeah, I mean, since 1959 with Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, the history between NASA and the Navy has been in lockstep. But like any other skill, if you don't practice it regularly, that skill atrophies. So we've had a few decades off from that. But, over the past 4 or 5 years, really with this ship over the past year, we've constantly trained and working for this moment right here. Building up the hype, but to get to this point today, to be able to trust all the training we've done. We've worked with, working with NASA, the Air Force, the medical team, dive team. You want to talk about high-performance organizations coming together, working in unison? We are seeing that here on board the USS John P. Murtha, and I can't be more proud of all the work everyone's doing.
Yeah, you had some great words this morning saying just that, again, that it's really nice to see everybody working together and so excited. I mean, you just became the commanding officer of this ship back in February. How does it personally feel for you to be a part of this historic moment today?
Is a pinnacle of any naval officer's career. That being said, as my change of command was approaching, and I realized that Artemis was going to be in the window here, to say that I'm humbled and honored to be here is an understatement. What really just excites me is the opportunity to see this crew, who has been training so hard over the past year plus, come together. It is what inspires me. Listening to NASA and the ownership and pride they take. They make my crew better. I think we're making NASA better together. That synergy is something that I'm happy to see and hopefully take forward with me in my career.
Yeah, it's all about partnerships. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't have gotten to the moon without our international partners as well. So thank you so much, Captain. It was really great to have you here today.
Thanks, Megan.
Awesome. All right, Rob, back to you.
Thank you, Megan. Back here in Mission Control in Houston. We just had a quick view of the crew. We'll get that view back, and there they are again. Here in Mission Control, the entry team of flight controllers led by Rick Henfling and Jackie Mahaffey serving as the spacecraft communicator. We have just handed over communications links from the Deep Space Network that we communicated with the crew through from the time of the translunar injection burn back on April 2nd. We've just handed back to the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system as we prepare for the crew module service module separation that will take place just 17 minutes from now. With the Earth looming in front of Integrity as it barrels back for a splashdown of the Pacific just 50 minutes from now, we're just 5,700 nautical miles from splashdown. Just one other quick note about the comparison from the Artemis I entry profile to the Artemis II entry profile and how that is serving as an extra layer of protection for Integrity's heat shield. The Artemis I entry had an entry range of some 3,178 nautical miles, a very long downtrack and a very longer period of exposure to heat loads than we're experiencing tonight. It also had that skip entry profile that we discussed earlier, dipping into the Earth's atmosphere, then back out, then back in. It was about 20 minutes of exposure.
Integrity, Houston, comm check on TDRS.
Jackie, we have it loud and clear on TDRS.
We have you the same.
And there's one of the weather balloons being deployed from the USS John P. Murtha. So the Artemis I entry had the vehicle.
Any update on GPS? We haven't seen a track in yet.
Reed, we are watching. We are starting to get into the window where they may start acquiring, so should be within the next 10 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. We're holding at step 17 and getting ready for CM RCS hot fire.
And that exchange indicating that we are expecting to acquire data from the GPS system on board. That'll be a navigational tool that will basically tell Integrity's computers that they're on track down the center line of the corridor for the entry interface that will lead them to their splashdown point. Once again, the Artemis I entry exposed the heat shield for about 20 minutes of peak heating. For Artemis II, we're going to reach a downtrack distance of 1,701 nautical miles from the point of entry interface with just 14 minutes of duration. And it's basically a different angle of attack, a little bit steeper angle of attack that will protect the heat shield from excessive heat loads. So that is the difference between Artemis I and Artemis II, all designed into this mission to gather data, to protect the heat shield, since the Artemis III mission and beyond will have a different designed heat shield that will allow that skip entry type of profile to be resumed for all of the future missions coming back from the south pole of the moon when we initiate lunar landings. So we've handed over to the tracking and data relay satellite system. That's where we'll have communications for the rest of the flight. Just to give you some time hacks here, we're 13.5 minutes away from crew module, service module separation, and just 17 minutes away from the raise burn, that 19-second firing of the thrusters that will basically be the final fine-tuning of the angle of attack for Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. And once again, a dueling box view of some of the assets that are involved in recovery operations today. The
Integrity, cabin configured, all crew suited and seated.
Houston, copies.
That confirmation from Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity. As you see the assets being deployed to the splashdown zone. At the time of splashdown, we expect the John P. Murtha to be about 5 miles away from Integrity, keeping a safe distance until we are sure that the vehicle is in the water and upright, and that it is in a good configuration system-wide for the recovery teams to begin to approach the vehicle to erect that inflatable raft.
2 minutes to CM RCS warm-up hot fire.
We're ready.
That call from spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey indicating that we're 2 minutes away from a quick burst of the reaction control system. Thrusters, that will be a hot fire test prior to the separation of the crew module from the service module. The European service module has performed flawlessly throughout this flight. Everything, all the burns that had been prescribed for that service module have been executed on time and without a problem. There is the European flight control room that has overseen the manufacturing, the design of the European service module. They deserve quite a bit of credit on this mission for not only propelling the Integrity and its astronauts toward the moon, but also conducting the fine-tuning of its trajectory to bring it to this point where we are dead spot on down the middle of the corridor trajectory-wise to bring Integrity down for its splashdown in the Pacific just 44 minutes from now. What you're looking at is a computer-generated visualization based on real-time telemetry from Integrity. Currently traveling about 16,000 miles an hour. Integrity traveling about 16,000 miles an hour.
For the prop cautions, we're taking a look.
Copy that.
Now just about 5,100 miles from Earth. Splashdown scheduled 43 minutes from now. We're just 9.5 minutes away from the crew module service module separation. We are confirming.
Integrity, we are assessing details, but so far looks like a good hot fire.
Looks good on board, Jackie. Thank you.
And Jackie Mahaffey took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that we had a good hot fire test of the thrusters in advance of the crew module service module separation that's coming up just 8.5 minutes from now. This will begin the period in which we will have rapid-fire succession of critical activities on board that will lead to entry interface just 28 minutes from now, where the vehicle will enter the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet. The time of entry interface, 6:53 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time. Integrity's astronauts were awakened at mid-morning to begin their entry preparations. And propulsion officer now reports a good hot fire test in preparation for the crew module service module separation. We're now inside 41 minutes until splashdown.
Integrity Houston, we have confirmed a good CMRCS hot fire, and although we are not seeing GPS acquired yet, you can skip the troubleshooting steps in 157 for now.
Integrity copies.
That GPS discussion indicating that we will be acquiring navigational data for Integrity through the Global Positioning System equipment on board. We just don't have it yet, but we will. All of Integrity's systems are in great shape to support its high-speed entry into the Earth's atmosphere. It, once again, will reach a peak speed of 24,661.21 miles an hour.
You're calling GPS. We at least have GPS 1 looking good on board.
We are confirming.
The Guidance, Navigation, and Control Officer here in Mission Control, confirming that we have good lock on GPS data. We are on a communications link now through the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system. Now, following splashdown, we're going to lose that link and go to what's called a VLDR, a very low data rate communications link, so that we can talk to the crew inside Integrity as they are on the water.
Integrity, confirm we do see good GPS.
We do too, especially GPS 1 is accepting in nav channels 1 and 3.
That GPS data is basically telling Integrity's onboard computers its position relative to the Earth, but its trajectory and its orientation according to flight dynamics, and the Guidance, Navigation, and Control Officer is spot on. We have now armed the pyros for the crew module service module separation coming up less than 5 minutes from now. Once again, just 10 seconds after entry interface, we will see Integrity reaching its peak speed of 24,661.21 miles per hour. That will be just seconds before we begin a 6-minute blackout period.
Integrity, Houston. Your vehicle is in a good config for CM-SM SEP and go for CM raise.
Houston, we see the same on board and copy go for CM raise.
That CM raise referred to as the slight firing of 19 seconds by Integrity's thrusters with a change in velocity of 9.9 feet per second, a slight nudge of the aft end of the vehicle so that it's tilted a bit upward, providing the final angle of attack as the vehicle enters the Earth's atmosphere. This being the mitigating factor that will reduce heat loads on the heat shield as we reach a point downrange from the start of entry interface, some 1,701 nautical miles to the splashdown site. Integrity systems in excellent shape. We are currently 3,300 nautical miles left in this mission. Splashdown scheduled 36 minutes, 39 seconds from now.
Integrity, Houston. For the 2 enabled prop cautions, what happened is while the thrusters were firing, multiple pressure sensors on each of the strings diverged a bit from each other. Those limits look to be set pretty tight. We think it could happen again when the thrusters fire in the future, so we are going to suppress those messages.
We concur with suppress, not inhibit. Thank you.
That exchange between Jackie Mahaffey, our Capcom for tonight, and Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity, indicating basically to ignore sensor data. All of Integrity systems are in good shape.